Welcome to the Confidently Balance Your Hormones podcast. My name is Davidson, and I'm a hormone health expert, master mindset coach, and multiple wellness business entrepreneur. I'm obsessed with helping you experience hormone balance, confidence, self-love, and live a life full of joy. I know we're about to have so much fun together, so thank you so much for pushing play today. And now let's begin. Welcome to another episode of Confidently Balance Your Hormones. This is your guide, Dee Davidson, and I am super excited to introduce you all to my client, Emma, who will be sharing her experiences with myself, the CLY community, and how we've improved her health. Welcome, Emma.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
So before we get started, as you know, I was really eager to get you on my podcast because a lot of my followers and a lot of the women that I work with, they are ages 40 and above. And I think that's because I just turned 50 and we attract what we are. People, are relatable. So I have a lot of clients in that perimenopause, menopause, postmenopausal stage. But I also want my listeners to know that I work with a lot of young girls, such as yourself. I have a lot of girls that maybe you don't see in my promotional marketing stuff, but hormones are hormones. And from the beginning, I've said the hormones are not the problem. There's something that's triggering your hormones to be imbalanced. And, your hormones are the same as when you're born to when you go and get your first period, to when you go to have kids, to when you don't have a period anymore. You have to understand what makes hormones tick, what makes them tick, what makes them balance. And if you know those, what I call CLY principles, the foundational things we'll talk about, then you can adjust your sales as you go through hormone up and downs. It's never, I think people think they achieve hormone balance and they've just arrived, but you and I will talk about that, right? It's getting in tune with your body and really understanding what's going on and adjusting your sales. So let's just tell the listeners a little bit about who you are and how old you are and, where you were at when your mom reached out to me.
All right. So hi, everyone. I'm Emma. I'm a turning 21 next month, year old college student. I'm going into my senior year. I guess I'm an education major. I'm a dancer. I've always been a pretty active person. I like to be involved in things. And I think a big thing to know about me is that I come from a family who is very health focused. We've always been very intuitive eaters, very intuitive with our bodies, and trying other routes from all kind of a medical standpoint, but at the same time, just figuring out different ways to treat our bodies and not to fix things, but to make ourselves feel better and feel our best. My whole life, I've struggled with eczema. From the minute I was born, I've always had really bad eczema all over my body. I've seen numerous dermatologists, doctors, tried steroid creams. As a kid, I used to have to be taken out of school because my eczema was so bad I couldn't sit at my desk anymore from sweating. And it got really bad, and I used to get made fun of for it. It was just never a fun thing that I liked to have, showing big red marks all over my body. As a college student, it was still very bad in my 20s. I entered my 20s and I was just starting to get sick of it. And at the same time, I started dealing with some really bad stomach issues. I was going through days where I couldn't eat. My weight was fluctuating dramatically, and I was just constantly feeling sick. I went a long time not feeling like myself, which was really hard to deal with. I've also struggled, with anxiety and panic attacks for a long time in my life. Those started at a very young age as well and have gone up and down. And anxiety is hard for anyone who struggles with it. So I feel you. But my mom found Dee on a Facebook group. She reached out to her, and immediately from our first call, we knew that this was the right fit. I've tried my regular doctors at home. I tried other hormone balancers. I've tried naturopaths. And even on my first call with Dee, I knew that this was the right fit for me. And I loved just her confidence that she knew that she could do something to help me. And I'm happy to say that she definitely has.
I love all of that. And I think my followers, if you're tuning in for the first time, you might not know this, but I'm a very woo person, if you will. And there are no accidents. If you're listening to this, you might be
Ever.
needing to listen to it and know someone that you're going to share this with. When I, linked up with your mom, we instantly connected, and same with you, Emma. So I was so thrilled to be able to have the opportunity to help you because I know I've had some health challenges with my own kids, as I shared with you. My son Mason, he had really bad eczema on and off to the point where it would crack and bleed, and it's so painful to even look
That's
at.
awful.
And we got to the point at the dermatologist where they said, well, you can give him a steroid cream, but don't give it to him too often because
Yeah.
it's to childhood leukemia.
Mhm.
Now, for those of you who know my story, I went through infertility journey to conceive Mason. He was a 1% chance. And I'm going, you're out of your mind if you think I'm going to put this cream on him that could potentially harm him. So I really have this special thing that where I really like helping people with skin issues, which we'll talk about, is not the skin's really not the issue. It's typically your gut health. Your damn gut health has to do with everything, your hormones, your immune system. When we talk about anxiety and panic, it's your second brain. 70% of your immune system's in your gut. And that's the reason that when we talk about testing, I don't just run a hormone test, because your hormones, again, if you're following this, because my podcast is called Confidently Balance Your Hormones, just know your hormones aren't the issue. It's likely something to do with your gut as well. And we're going to talk a little bit about Emma's journey with her gut. So let's touch upon what you did before coming to me. Did you go to a GI specialist? Did you have any testing done prior to working with me?
So I did. So I started off with a hormone specialist. We tested my hormones. We did a few other tests, and I just, her stuff was so overwhelming and none of it really made sense to me that we didn't end up completely following through with everything that she wanted me to do. I felt like it wasn't really like tailored to my specific needs. And it was more so just throwing random things at me just because. So my mom and I ended up deciding that we weren't going to go with that one. So that then we ended up at a naturopath who I did a test for, and I came back that I had SIBO. So we treated the SIBO. That was like a 3, 4 month process. And then that was it. I felt a little bit better, but I still didn't feel great. Um, and between that, I was seeing my regular physician going in and out. They did some blood tests, they did some x-rays, they told me to try the FABMOT diet. They told me that I just needed to take more fiber, just, the standard things that they tell everyone to do. When I looked at the stuff and I'm like, I've pretty much eat the FABMOT diet. I'm like, I have to just take out like 2 foods. I'm like, this just doesn't make sense. And I was also a little in denial that there was just, there was nothing wrong with me and this was just my body and this is how I was supposed to be. But I got to one of those points where I just couldn't do it anymore. But while I was seeing you, one of the testing came back that I needed to go possibly see a GI specialist. And I did, and they came back and they were like, we're going to do a colonoscopy and endoscopy on you. And this was after I had all of our test results. And I got my test results back from those 2 procedures, by the way, which threw me whack out of my system for a few days with serious back pain, headaches, and things that like doctors have never even seen before after getting a colonoscopy, endoscopy. I had an insane cough for about 2 months afterwards. It was crazy. And all of my test results came back that I was perfectly fine. They're like, there's nothing wrong with you. You're chronically constipated. Take some fiber. I'm like, that's just not true because I have this whole other test that says otherwise. So it's just crazy to see the comparisons. I couldn't believe it.
Sounds like some major gaslighting, right?
It was,
Sounds
it
like
really
it's
was.
like, what do you mean? I don't feel, and I hear this all of the time. And for our listeners, I'm not anti-doctor. Matter of fact, my son just came back from camp, Emma, and he had a staph infection on his leg because he went there
Oh,
with an injury, and then it
mhm.
was sweaty and he had pads and he didn't have a mother to say, take a shower. And you know how I feel about antibiotics. It's like last resort because it flushes the good and the bad, and we're gonna have to rebuild his good stuff. But sometimes we need doctors. Like you don't want to
100% right.
you don't want to get in a car accident, God forbid, or have a heart attack and not have someone be able to help you out. The point here is that if you feel gaslit or you feel like, no, there's something that's going on, trust your intuition and you have the right to ask more questions. I've had clients who have asked for labs that I've told them to ask for and been told like, that's not necessary. That's not important. It's your right. So don't feel bad You pay a lot for healthcare in the US. I call it sick care. And if you can't get answers at your traditional doctor or even specialist, then seek out someone like myself or someone in the arena that is a little bit different. What makes me different is that I look at all of the systems. I just had someone, poor girl, took a food sensitivity test and was told to take about 15 supplements to heal the gut issue and told that it's the foods. And we're not going to talk about that today. But what the point is here is that you have to look at the body as a system, and everything is an orchestra. So it all has to be communicating, and your body's seeking ease and balance. So we don't just look at just the gut or just the hormones. We have to look at your hormones. We test your immune system, your digestive markers, your energy production. Are you eating the right foods, enough food? Are you stabilizing your blood sugar? Is your nervous system in balance? Because there are certain foods that might be triggering panic and anxiety, or blood sugar balance, things like that. How are your detoxification organs? Is your liver, we could talk about that, right? Is your liver doing what it's supposed to do? Is your gallbladder processing fats? So there's all of those systems we look at as a whole. And I'm proud to say that, and Emma, I'll have you verify this, I don't treat the paper. When you go to a doctor, they look at the paper and they say, here's the medication, or they say there's nothing wrong. I am working on listening to my client and taking what they tell me and matching it up to what comes back from science, data-driven information that's based on their body and their state today as to what comes back. And really, I think I should have been a teacher. I guess I'm a teacher in some way, but I feel like I wanted to go to school for teaching, and my dad said, no, there's no money in that. So I became a teacher at a different level, right? A teacher at a different level. I'm still teaching. So I think that's why I'm so passionate about not just telling someone, this is what's wrong with you and do this, but educating them on how their body works, maybe why their hormones aren't where they're at, so that they can take the information and know how to rebalance as they go through life, or how to maintain their liver, their gallbladder, things like that, so that they don't end up in the cycle of trial and error over and over and over throughout their life, and end up at this specialist and then this doctor, that they get back into their body to understand, like, oh, this pain, or I'm constipated for 2 days, I might need to take more vitamin C, right? Or I might need to have more psyllium, or am I eating the foods that make me go to the bathroom? So do you want to just say anything about that? Just validate that I don't treat the paper, I treat the person.
I'd say that's 100% true, because I feel like when I do see like your typical physician, they just tell you this is what's wrong with you, this is what you do. But I feel like I've learned so much about my own body and how I could have possibly ended up that way, and the things I need to do to fix it. So if I have that off day, I just know, okay, this is what I need to do. I should take some of this. I should eat some of this. And if I'm confused, I can still reach out to you. I can figure out what I need to do, how I can fix these things. And there's always a fix. And I've always realized that I just need to do something small, maybe shift a little thing, but I know what it's doing. And I've learned so much about how my body works and why I feel the way I feel. And I feel like that makes it a whole difference, because once you really understand what's going on with you, you almost feel a little bit better about it. And it's like less of a question when you fully understand what's going on with you. And I feel like that just gave me more confidence that I could figure out what's wrong, and I could fix things, and I could make myself feel better.
I was just going to say, in the time that we've worked together, last few months, just your confidence around, it's scary, right? When you don't go to the bathroom for 3 days and you're trying to like make it happen, especially a lot of the women, and you all don't know Emma, but I'm so impressed with you. I've told you this from the beginning. She is so responsible. She's not out like binge drinking or doing any of these late night things. She's so responsible and good about her health. She is an overall healthy person. So it's really difficult sometimes, because we turn inward to go, well, what can I do? Or what am I doing wrong? Or something's wrong with me. And your confidence around all of that, and just trusting that your body wants you to be safe, your body wants you to be healthy, and then asking yourself the questions of, did I eat enough food today? Did I eat the right things? Eat enough protein? Did I take the right supplements? Did I get enough sleep? Did I do my castor oil pack? Whatever those things are that we're working on, it has just really shifted tremendously, where I love that because you can feel empowered, right? That's the word that comes to mind is I
Yeah.
feel empowered, not that my body's taken control over me, but that
Mhm.
we're not
I
trying
have.
to control the body because we never can. I don't know if you've heard of the book, The Body Keeps Score. But that book talks about you can't force your body to do something. You just have to be gentle with yourself and understand what's going on, right? And the more education you have around your different systems, the
Yeah.
easier that makes it because we can create a lot of stress and spike cortisol thinking about what we did wrong or like what we're not doing or what's going to happen if I don't go poop another day. So I'm really, really proud of you. What I'd like to do now is go over my DRESS acronym. I don't know if you remember it. I don't expect you to remember it. It's not a quiz, but I use the acronym DRESS, which is an FDN acronym school that I went to. And I do that because no matter what lab you get or what test result or what supplement you're taking, we always have to go back to DRESS. And when my clients get out of alignment and they feel like, oh, I was doing so well, and now I'm not sleeping well, or I don't have the energy, I'll ask them, how are you doing with DRESS, the foundational things, which is diet, right? And diet's not, we're never on a diet here. We have to be flexible unless there is like a real food intolerance there. But we have to be flexible with our food. How's your blood sugar? Did you eat enough protein? So that's diet. The rest piece is, am I going to bed at a decent hour? Am I supporting sleep by not having EMF in my room? Am I not scrolling? What's my mindset when I'm going to bed? Exercise, are you moving your body? There's no one set type of exercise that's good for every person or every woman or every age. I believe in joyful movement. Stress, how are we managing stress? What stress is going on? And then supplements is the last piece because supplements can never heal you. You have to work on, and we never become healed. That's another thing that's a pet peeve of mine is that we set this unrealistic thing that like we get to an end point. There's always something. I'm here to tell you at 50, there's always something, but we have to flow with it. So with the diet piece, Emma, what what things did you have to change or learn around what you were doing and what you're doing now?
For the diet stuff, I mean, I've always been a pretty, I like to think, healthy eater, especially as like a college student. I was never the one going to the dining hall. I was making a salad in my dorm with my olive oil.
Mhm. I love
Like
that, by the way.
I've always been that kind of person, but and I've tried the gluten-free, I've tried the dairy-free, so that wasn't a really big shift for me, but it was almost just incorporating more things into my diet, different kinds of foods, more protein. And what we talk about a lot of the times is just the little things you can do to make your eating experience better. Drinking less and drinking and or not drinking during meals, or making sure you're chewing your food 30 times. Or what was new to me was just eating your greens and then eating your protein and then eating your starches. Like just like the little shifts like that were the things that I was thinking about the most. But then it was nice once we did the food sensitivity test and we had all those answers about what foods I should and I shouldn't be eating. That I think was also a bigger change because then I had to start taking out foods that I was eating that I thought were really good for me and really good for my body, or just even the little things like my black pepper, which I miss, but I've gotten by without
It's
it
not
for a while.
forever. We're almost
It's not
there, right?
forever.
It's not
Yep.
forever.
Mindset, not a forever thing. Um, but that was probably the biggest shift for me. But it was great for that because I got answers of things that we had taken out previously that I could start eating, like dairy.
Yes, so good because you can get some good protein from dairy. And at one point, before my education, I thought like dairy is inflammatory for everybody, but that's not the case. And what I'm hearing you say about diet is we got down to what does Emma's body love and what does Emma's body not need right now, what might be triggering the symptoms that you're having. That's the difference is the bio individuality. Everybody's different. And we look at what the current state of health is and then make a plan around that. All right. So what about sleep? You were already having decent sleep, right? And I know that you, again, for a college student, you're not up late, partying or doing anything like that. You probably don't have too much to say about your sleep routine. Did anything change with sleep or your routine?
I definitely did get to better bed a lot easier. Before previously, I dealt with a lot of anxiety at night, and I would often like wake up in panic and like unable to get back to bed, but that is to a bare minimum now. I really haven't had that happen. I've made some like slight changes, like less of the EMF waves, like getting like my phone out, trying not to scroll before bed or first thing in the morning. I've been trying to take that out as best as I can. I do give myself some leeway as I'm still 20 and I like to talk to my friends before I go to bed, or I want to look at something in the morning. And even with school, like as a college student, you are constantly doing work, checking your email on your computer, like thinking about school. So it's been helpful during the summertime to push that aside a little bit. So I'm going to work on being better about that as I walk into the school year next week. But my sleep definitely did change. But as you were saying, I was having pretty good sleep prior.
Wonderful. Especially as you said, there's a lot. It's not just the drinking and the partying and all that stuff and the social activities, but the stress of exams and studying and getting your work done and all of that, that can really add up. So disconnecting from your phone with not just young people, all of us, it's become such an addiction where we have those phones in our hand all day long. And it's like, let me just check one more email. Let me just check, one more thing. And you go to bed and your brain's still going. That's a great observation that you just made that, hey, that's something that I can work on as I go back to school. It's a fresh year. Can I leave my phone totally turned off so I'm not getting that EMF or getting the temptation to grab it? But I know that you're really good about your bedtime routine. The next thing is exercise. I'm excited to share because I know that you're an amazing dancer, and I know during the school year you're doing a lot of that, and then you shifted. And I love this because it's called flexibility and not being rigid and saying, because I want to X, Y, and Z, I need to weight lift this many days a week. Or, some people might go, dance isn't enough exercise. I disagree. I understand and give you all the credit, but they might think you need to be in a CrossFit gym those days too. So talk about like how much joy the dance brings you and how you are flexible and knowing that you are going into summer and what you've been doing over the summer as well.
Well, I've definitely heard the dance isn't enough exercise before. Get it all
I'm
the
sure
time,
that
but
makes
I'm
you
like,
laugh,
you don't
right?
understand. My 3-day weekends where I'm dancing for 12 hours is just, it's not,
I'm
of
sure
course
it's
that's,
exhausting.
but dance has been a big part of my life since I was 3. I grew up as a competitive dancer, and walking into college, I knew that it was just going to be the one thing that keeps me sane. Dance has always brought me such good joy, and it really does make me feel better. Even days when I don't feel well, I would still walk into dance and move my body because I knew it was going to do something for me. And the social aspect of it is also super important. As a college student, it's where all of my good friends are. But coming into summer and even prior to that, my regular exercise has been all over the place. Both of my parents are CrossFitters. My dad's a CrossFit coach. I grew up in the CrossFit gym. I was doing CrossFit Kids in the 4th grade and weightlifting. I played lacrosse for a long time. So I was kind of always all over the place with my exercise. When COVID hit and I was out of dance, I knew I still needed something to keep my body moving. So I got back into the weightlifting a little bit. But then once I came to college, my life just completely turned upside down. And I always say that my problem started when I got to college because it's really one of those life experiences where everything changes and it's really hard to rebuild it sometimes. And it really was for me. And I'm walking into my senior year now, and I still feel like I haven't rebuilt myself from when I first came into college, but this is my year. So this summer, I've finally been getting back into lifting weights and exercising, but I've also given myself more flexibility with it, where some days I don't want to weight lift heavily. I'll do some stretching or some yoga movement and something that I would do more in a dance class. And that always makes me feel really good because I know that I'm doing something that's going to
So
benefit
good.
me
I love
as
that.
well later on. And sometimes I'll go for a walk. I live near the beach during the summers, so I do a lot of beach walks. I'm also constantly on my feet all day. I work with kids and I'm just
Mhm.
constantly moving and running around. So even that, I know, like, if I don't get in my perfect exercise and weightlifting routine that day, that I was still active
Mhm.
and I was moving and my body was sweating and I got that detox that I needed to from just being outside and sweating all day.
Yes, yes. And again, being flexible to say, What does my day entail? Where can I fit it in? I know that you're mindful and thinking about exercise, which is the goal, is that how am I moving my body today? What am I doing? What can I fit in? And being okay with it to say, this is what today is. Exercise can become very unhealthy for people as well, where they stress out about it. Like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get to the gym? How am I going to do this? I'm going to get fat if I don't do this, blah, blah. Like, that's unhealthy and it can also induce stress. So being flexible, you're a great example of that. When we talk about stress leading into stress, how have you acknowledged stresses that you have in managing stress?
I'm such a stressful person. I've always said that. I'm very type A. I'm a perfectionist. Like, and a lot of that with, especially with school and dance, it can bring me a lot of extra anxiety. So we've talked about a lot of different ways to incorporate more ways of bringing down my stress. And one of my favorite ones that we talk about is doing it like first thing in the morning when you wake up. Like, what are some things that you can do to start your day off on the best point possible? And for me, I did some meditation. I love journaling. That was always really good. There were some times when I would message you and I'm like, I'm really like nervous about this and I don't know how I feel about this. And you're like, just write it down. Just write it down on a piece of paper, get it out of your body, get it out of your system, put it to the side, throw it in the trash,
Burn
whatever.
it, shred
You
it,
burn
whatever you need to do,
burn
right?
it.
Throw rocks,
For
whatever. Just
real.
don't injure anyone or break anything too
And
expensive.
exactly. That always made me feel better. I feel like that was just one of my favorite stress relievers is just writing it down and just putting it to the side. Sometimes I would do it in my notes app and then I just delete it right later and I never had to think about it ever again. And then just doing the things that bring me joy and filling my cup and being around the people that make me happy are always just such an important stress reliever for me. And making sure that I incorporate a lot of self-care time, which I've always been very good at. For a stressful person, I love my baths, I love my face masks, a little extra TV time at the end of the day, or shutting my laptop when I know I can't finish this right now, but I'm going to do it later. And that's okay. And then being okay with it is the most important part.
Yes, if we could get more young women like yourself listening to this and doing these things and understanding the importance of self-care, self-love, that they're worthy, that they deserve to take the break, that they don't have to constantly be doing all of these things. I see it with my boys, 12 and 14, that the US is the only country that does this. So, I went over to Portugal this summer and I know you were in Europe as well. You went to Italy,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That this is a US thing where it's like you're lazy if you rest or you work all these hours and do all of these things. If more women could learn this early on, their health would benefit. I think I forget what the statistic is, but more women have autoimmune and thyroid issues than men. And I believe that's the reason because we take on so many roles and so much stress and expectations of ourselves that we don't take enough time for that. So I'm so happy to hear that. The last S, and then we'll go into how you're feeling now, is supplements. And I like to clarify the role of supplements. Supplements are no different than medications in they should be targeted. It shouldn't be a random thing that you saw on an Instagram scroll and you're like, maybe that'll fix my gut, or maybe I'll do this. They should be targeted based on functional lab testing, vital voids, working on sometimes you got to get rid of bad bacteria and things like that. We can keep it simple. I know we're coming to the end of our time. Did you feel that you were supplemented appropriately? And how was it incorporating the supplements?
I definitely feel like the supplements are really geared towards my needs. At first, getting the supplements was really overwhelming because they're definitely, for me especially, and this isn't for everyone, but I had a lot of things that I needed to start taking. But one thing that I loved and that my mom and I both loved when we first started talking is that you were saying that supplements are not a forever thing. They should never be a forever thing. It's something that you should take for a short period of time, get yourself back on track, and then you find maybe you do keep a few in your life, but the point of them is just like a regular medication is that you shouldn't be taking them forever.
Mhm.
And they're not a quick fix either. Your supplements are not going to fix everything for you. You also have to put in the work, which I think is something that's important for people to understand. But the supplement part was probably one of the most overwhelming things for me. But it's almost become part of my lifestyle now, and we're nearing the end of our time
Mhm.
together in the next few weeks, in the next month or two, I think
Mhm.
now.
Mhm.
But And I'm still adding in a few more, but they're short term. They don't last long. And I think once I got the hang of it and I understood why I needed to take each thing and I saw the results, that's when I knew like this is working, this is helping me. Like I'm taking the right things to feed my body because I have taken things before, like like you were mentioning, from the good old Instagram ad or something
Everyone's
that
an
someone saw on
influencer,
Facebook. I'm like, yes, I'm like, that looks great. I'll take that. And then I
right?
take it for 2 weeks and it does nothing because I never saw the results. But I was seeing the results and that really motivated me to keep going and to keep pushing. But I really appreciated how you kept telling me that number one, it's not a forever thing. Maybe a few of them are, but this isn't going to be your lifestyle forever. This is helping you now. And the things that we do now are setting you up for success later. And I also appreciated that you kept telling me that we didn't even start with the supplements. We started with all the other parts of dress before we
Because
even
no
got to
matter what, you got to come back to those
got to
things.
build the foundations.
Mhm.
And I feel like building the foundations also made me understand that you just can't just take things. Things just
Right,
aren't going to make you feel better. You
right.
can make yourself feel better. And then the things just also help you at the same time.
What a great end to our episode. The reminder of personal responsibility, I call it,
So
right?
important. So
People
important.
hop from functional health practitioner to their endocrinologist, to their gynecologist, to the looking
Everything.
for someone to tell them what the magic pill is, if you will. The magic pill is in looking yourself in the mirror. And most of the time, again, you were a really great student and
Thank you.
it wasn't bad habits or anything like that that you were doing. But a lot of my clients, it is things they're not taking responsibility for. They're eating processed food, drinking a lot of alcohol. And when I say a lot, I mean like even weekly. There's no alcohol that's good for you. I'm not alcohol shaming, but every night they're having a glass of wine or just on weekends, or they're not exercising, or they're not managing stress, they're not going to therapy. All of these pieces, those are the foundations we're talking about, no matter what. And when someone comes back to me and says, oh, my sleep was going good for 6 months, now it's off again, guess what? We're going to revisit those foundations, and maybe they need to double down on them because they're depleted again or they've gotten off track. So what a great way to end. So as we wrap up now, tell us, how is your eczema? How's your gut? How are you feeling? How has your health improved?
Everything is improved. I really can say, like, I've had eczema that covered my arms, my back, my chest, my legs, the back of my knees, my face. If it's a body part, I've probably had it there at some point in my life. And my eczema is slim to none. A big thing of mine is I would get really bad flare-ups when I sweat a lot of times in the summertime. Even in the winter, it would happen too. But I haven't had any eczema breakouts or anything like that all summer long. I am a very regular visitor of the bathroom these days, which makes me
Remember
feel
when
really
you thought you
good.
weren't constipated and I kept telling you,
Yes.
no, you're constipated?
I'm like, it's not a problem. But oh, it was a problem. And that every morning, I go every morning and it makes me feel really good about myself. I haven't had any extreme weight gain or weight loss. My eating habits are really good now, which has also been very helpful for me as I would go days, even sometimes a week, with minimally eating, or some days going with no eating, which has been very good. I feel like I am really fueling my body. I have a lot more energy. My stress levels have been low, and I'm going to definitely, as I said before, work on that as I enter the school year. It's my last year in school, so I'm going to keep my stress levels down. I'm going to have a good year. And I feel a lot more confident in my own health, which I think is just the big part of this, is that it's not just treating the things that you feel is wrong with you. It's that building things and building things up and building those foundations. And with that comes this boost of confidence that I feel like I have, that I know that I can feel better, I will feel better, and I do feel better. And that's the most important part for me.
So good. It's important that we also talk about that as we end, that we can get attached to past history. Past history is that you didn't find the Davidson, right? No, but seriously, is that
Exactly.
you didn't have the tools or the knowledge or someone to really help you understand the bigger picture, the whole health picture. And once we do have that, it does build that sense of confidence to know that, wow, my body can heal, because you're seeing it with your symptoms clearing up. And you get that the reaffirmation of, the body wants to heal. My body wants to be healthy. My body can be healthy. And you get the belief, and we don't attach to diagnosis. I know you didn't have a diagnosis, which was also frustrating, but sometimes people go, I have thyroid issue. I have type 2 diabetes, and then they can't get past it. I do believe, for those of you who have access to watching this, there's a documentary called Heal. I do believe that we can heal. So with the right tools, knowledge, and taking responsibility for our health, I believe that everyone has the right to be healthy and live the highest level of joy. And it starts with the mindset. I can feel your energy and believing and being positive. So thanks so much for being on today, Emma. I appreciate you sharing.
This is great.
Good luck back at school.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Confidently Balancing Your Hormones. If you enjoyed today's episode, I'd love for you to share it with a friend and also hit follow at the top of this podcast. If you have a couple of minutes and you can leave a quick review, it will help other women in need find this podcast. You can find me on Instagram at confidently_love_yourself. I would love to stay connected and hear from you.